This spotlight is all about exit planning. Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this segment is Rick Thomas. He's the founder of First Generation Advisors. Rick, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mark, great to be here. Appreciate it.
Rick, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
Yeah, appreciate the question. So the core of my work is and has been for the last 16 years that I've been doing this has been around growth strategy. And my primary client are owner operators of small and medium market businesses. And as that has evolved over the last 16 years, it's now known as exit planning and value acceleration. But back in the day when I started this in 2005, it was around growth strategy. So that really laid the foundation for the exit planning work that I'm doing now.
The business owners that you help, they're always entrepreneurial, they're great about growth, but when it comes to planning for exit, how much thought do they put into it? Do they even know where to start? What are their preconceived notions?
Other than lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what they're going to do, no, that's about as much work as most owners put into thinking about, okay, how do I start getting out of this thing? And, this is kind of the paradox for most business owners in this situation is what makes them really good as a founder, as an entrepreneur, actually doesn't make them so good at planning an exit because this really begins to challenge how an owner founder looks at themselves aside from the business. For most, that's absolutely one and the same. Their identity is wrapped up in the identity of the business. And therefore, and I'm sure among the thousands of exit planners out there, they would all agree the number one issue is helping the founder and owner begin to unwind themselves, begin to kind of systematize the business so it can exist outside the founder's, hands-on touch.
A lot of business owners aren't aware of the role of an exit planning advisor. Can you kind of help us clarify that for folks and maybe give us a 10,000-foot view on the areas that you help these business owners in?
Absolutely. I mean, probably at the very core of it, it is a role as a trusted advisor to be a sounding board. And primarily, I mean, when I go in to a client, I am probably 90% of the dialogue that we have is just asking questions and trying to understand where the owner's at and what are they aiming for. A lot of times, the owner really doesn't think about what is it that I want to get out of this thing when I exit. If even exit is a thought in their mind, other than maybe they have some things that start happening that start driving the conversation, whether it's health or something else. But as we go through the process of really understanding what they're looking for, and what I do and most good business or exit planners will do is start kind of laying a path for, okay, let's begin with the end in mind and start working back on what exit looks like, preparing the team, preparing the systems, preparing the client base in the marketplace for life without the owner.
Rick, what inspired you to get into this field and help business owners with their exit plans to begin with? How did you get started?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd love to be able to tell you I had this, dialed in. It was exactly what I wanted to do. That's not how it happened. And like a lot of things in my career, things just kind of happen, and I realize, oh, I'm in this place, and this is really interesting. It actually started with me running my own business. I had a manufacturing business with a partner, and I was in that for about 15 years. It was designed, my role in that business was designed to be their exit plan. Well, that didn't happen. I got what I call my PhD in family run businesses when that failed. So that led to me exiting and then starting my consulting business back in 2005 to help other business owners get really clear about what is that path to success, first of all. let alone the exit. I wasn't even thinking about exit back then. How it evolved to exit is I had built up a good stable good strong stable of clients, and right around 2012 2013 they started exiting, getting out of the business. And some of them did it really well. Some had some very poor exits. Either they didn't get the financial return they were looking for, or more kind of problematic, they were left feeling like, okay, I just left my business hanging. And all the people, all the clients that I had developed relationships over the years with are now, they've got an owner that has very different goals, and I feel very disconnected from it. And that's where I felt compelled to dive in and say, how can I help? Because all the work that I had done in creating models for growth strategy, what I began to realize is that actually could help with exit strategy and helping the client solve some big problems. And maybe that, as I talk about it, that's probably the biggest thing that's drawn me. Is I've always been a problem solver. I'm an engineer by education. I love solving problems, and exit planning just became the most recent problem that a lot of owners are facing that I could help them solve.
Rick, before I ask you my last question, in regards to exit planning, is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share with business owners today?
Yeah, it's a great question, because, but a difficult one to answer, because it's kind of like a fractal. Is the more you kind of dial in on what that shape looks like, it opens up and opens up so many different questions, and so it's like looking into a microscope and realizing there's a whole world in there that we didn't even notice. I think the biggest challenge, aside from the actual separation from the business, for an owner, is to be comfortable in that state of uncertainty. Because exit, when you start contemplating exits, it can go so many different ways, and there's so many permutations of exit. And doing a well thought out plan takes time. And so in that period, in that time of really discerning what the best action is, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unanswered questions, and it's being comfortable in that space of not being answered a question. That's probably the one of the more difficult things for an owner to kind of prepare themselves for.
Rick, for business owners listening right now that resonate with what you're talking about and would like to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's the ubiquitous World Wide Web, and we're at firstgenadvisors.net. Firstgenadvisors.net. That's my website. My email is I still use email and messaging, but email is probably the easiest. And it's rick@firstgenadvisors.net. I can be found on Twitter at Richard Pierce Thomas, as well as LinkedIn under First Generation Advisors as well.
Rick, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Hey, Mark, this has been great for me as well. I appreciate the opportunity and wish your clients well.
That was Rick Thomas, founder of First Generation Advisors, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.